One.
Peace. Thanks for coming back to part 3, the age and dating of ancient Kemet, Egypt. Um, we showed the star alignments, but what I want to show you is that not only do the stars align, but the distance between the megaliths and the horizon of the Earth matches the actual distance of the star from the planet Earth. And I'll show you how that works right here. Okay. If we look at the distance of the Earth, what we see is, we'll take two of them. Ballatrax star in the Orion's constellation is 250 light years from here. Betelgeuse is 430 light years from here. Taking this into consideration, if we look at Naphtali stones and give them the ratio mathematics of 1 meter times 7.799 equals a light year, which is 1 meter times 0.799, 1 light year, we'll actually see the Kemetic mathematics here. So the distance, if we look right over here, 318 meters times 0.799 gives us 254. Equating that with what astronomers say today is the distance of light years of the first one over here, which is Bellatrix. They say Bellatrix is 250 light years. Well, it just so happens that from here, from where I'm pointing to right here, to Bellatrix, where it would pop up right there, in meters is 318 meters. It gives you 254, which correlates with the amount of light years that Bellatrix is actually from the planet Earth. If we look at Betelgeuse, here it is right here. Betelgeuse. So we have once again, from here to there is 537 meters times 0.799 gives you 248. Equating with what astronomers say gives you 228, which is equating with what astronomers say is a different distance between here and the Betelgeuse light, 430 light years away. So these Kemetians were charting this some 16,000 years ago. They had the precise calculations of the distance of the stars 16,000 years ago, 8,400 years ago. They knew about the precession. Okay? Now what I want to do is I'm going to go to another thing right here. We're going to go to, you have John Anthony West and an anthropologist named Robert Schoch, who were doing some research in Kemet, and they found out that the Sphinx, what they call the Sphinx, which is really called the Harakuti Tem, well, what they're calling the Sphinx, has water erosion that shows an undulating profile of torrential downfall. And here, I'll blow up this image right here. We can take a look at it. Come over this side. Here it is right over here. Okay, these are fissure lines created on the Sphinx. Fissure lines about 14 feet up of flood lines on what they call the Sphinx. Now, the last time there was a torrential rain was what we discussed with the Naphtali civilization, which was around 10,500 years ago. At that time would not be a time preferred for the Kemetians to start building a civilization. You wouldn't be creating a Sphinx in the middle of a large torrential downfall, which is actually strong enough rains over a period of time to put water damage in the Sphinx, which would mean that the Sphinx itself would have had to have already have been there, and then it started raining. Well, the last time before that was the last precession that we discussed, the precession which is 25,000 years ago. If you take 25,000 years and add it to 10,500, we are right back at the date of 35,500 years again. right back at the initial date, which is when the Kemetians say their civilization started. The Sphinx actually points to the Leo star constellation, which the Kemetians acknowledge at the beginning of their civilization, 35,000 to 35,500 years ago, which would be the beginning of their civilization. Now what I want to show here also, I'm going to blow this image up and I'll bring back over. This image here is showing the precession that we discussed of 25,000 years. Here it is right here. Okay. Now, here is the Sphinx is actually offset to the right of the main east-west access to the causeway. It's actually a little bit offset. And 10,500 years ago, keep it here. 10,500 years ago, right over here, you actually see the Sphinx facing the horizon right here. That horizon is actually facing also the Leo star constellation. Now, if you look over here, you actually will see the horizon right there and the Leo star constellation at the same distance as if this was the borderline of the Earth, and the sun horizon there, and there's the Leo star constellation, is the exact mimicry of what's happening on Earth, where this is the horizon of the Earth, and here comes the sun, and there is the Sphinx looking at the Leo star constellation. This only happens when you take that computer program and reverse back time 10,500 years, but which we've already established that they would not be building a Sphinx in the middle of a major torrential downfall that's causing the Earth to flood. They would be building the Sphinx prior to that. And the last time the precession made that complete circle would have been 25,000 years before 10,000 years ago, which would be 35,000 years. So we are coming forth with data from the Kemetians themselves, several sources of data where they say their civilization is 35,000 BC. We're coming from astrological markers which show that they're recording that their civilization was recording star constellation movements at least 16,600 years ago. We're coming from anthropology, which states that there was a burial with flint tools being used in a mummification dating back to 35,000 years ago. We're going back to the precession that shows the Sphinx facing the Leo star constellation of 35,000 years ago. So we're using history, we're using anthropology, we're using archaeology, and we're using astronomy to verify that the Egyptian Kemetic culture dates back 35,000 years ago. Can you, Christian, Muslim, or Jew, or Hebrew, do that with your culture? Peace!